All right guys, we're gonna give you a detailed overview with some experts on the Z-Spray machines. We've got an older model Z-Spray, I believe it's a 2017 model, and then we got the brand new one that's got all the changes on it, the 2023 Z-Spray, and these are both the mid-size Z-Spray. So I'm gonna introduce the guests we got. We got my friend, all right, this is Ben Cotton. Ben's a friend of mine that does weed control and fertilization like me, and he's got his unit here that's got over 1,900 hours on it. So he's got a lot of time on this machine. He's going to give you a real user's experience of what he likes about the Z-Spray. Jonathan here is the product manager over the Z-Turf line. So he has flown in here to Sweet Home, Alabama, all the way from Nebraska, and we've already had lunch and everything, and so he is going to tell us about the upgrades and get a very detailed overview of the new Z-Spray. Z-Spray has provided the machine for this video, so very grateful for that. And I'm going to be rocking this thing for a while, but I got to first have somebody that's got a lot of experience to explain to me how to use it. So let's get started. I'm hoping this will be very authentic and ask real questions. And you guys also ask questions in the comments because we can reply to them that way. All right, Ben, like I said, Ben and I have known each other for a while. He's 45 minutes up the road, does weed control and fertilization like I do. And I thought, and I asked Ben, I said, Ben, will you bring your machine? Because I knew he had 1,900 hours on it, and I thought, well, he's going to be able to speak to it a lot as far as the Z-Sprays and things that you've done. So Ben, tell us, you know, as far as your just general overview of the Z-Sprays, how did you get started using them, and what's been your overall experience, and how do you put this thing to work?
Well, we've got to where we use them for most everything in our day-to-day operation. We got started with it just because everybody's hot and sweaty and tired, feet and legs hurt every day from pulling hose and pushing spreaders, and this was easier for me and anybody that helps me.
Just if I remember correctly, you've got two machines. You got this one's a 2017, and then you've got a 2021. You said they're virtually the same machine, but maybe give us a little bit of tour of the machine, and then we'll compare it with the new one and talk about some of the features on the new one.
Okay. I've been nothing but pleased with both of the machines I've got. I did a lot of research before I bought the first one. I actually drove up to the GIE with intentions of buying the first one and got up there and chickened out. I was of the mindset at the time I didn't want to make a change on equipment and the quality of my lawns or my business to take a hit in the process. Once we got started and I got a little bit more familiar with it, like I said, I tried to do a lot of homework before I bought this first one. I love it. The guys that helped me, in my experience, it's been a lot easier to train an employee on one of these versus pulling a hose. You've got a speedometer, you've got a pressure gauge. The machines I've got have got the foam marker on them. So you can, if a guy has experience with zero-turn lawnmowers and other equipment of this style, as far as just going out and doing, you know, production-based applications.
Are you spraying and fertilizing out of this machine, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We run pre-emergent through them. We run fertilizers, lime products, depending on what time of the year it is. You know, different types of weed killers. I've run just about anything and everything through one of these at some point or another.
And do you find it helpful to leave your fertilizer in the hopper for weeks at a time?
Absolutely not.
I just messed with Ben. He was out working this morning, so that's obviously a quick way to rust up nearly anything. You mentioned, and we're going to look at this on the new one too, but you mentioned, like, to me earlier, you got the auxiliary tank, you got the foam marking kit. So just quick rundown, like, what do you use those two accessories for?
At the time I bought this first one, the foam marker here was not standard equipment. That had to be added, which that, in my opinion, is money well spent. That makes the applications, especially from a, you know, if you're trying to train somebody, that just makes it so easy. For any level of experience, really.
But somebody's never used one. What is the foam marking kit? What does that do?
It just drops, I would say, golf ball size foam balls that, you know, depending on how strong you mix the foam, might last 5 minutes or they might last 20 minutes. You know, and as you finish up, they're gone. But while you're making the application and you need to see where you have and haven't been, they're easy to see and easy to tell.
What about the
auxiliary tank? I got that added as well, and it has its own hose that it doesn't work off the boom, it doesn't work off the long hose. It's completely separate tank, has its completely separate hose. and I use that for more of a specialty type products or the hard to kill weeds. You know, I'll run products like Tribute Total or Celsius or something maybe that we would blanket across a whole yard just due to the price. But you know, if you've got in our area Dallas grass or nut sedge or something like that we just need to spot treat as needed, you know, it's right here. When I get done treating a yard, I'm not walking back to the truck for a pump up a backpack sprayer to come back and touch up the problem weeds. It's all right here on one machine.
So just to kind of cover some of the big differences between our old model and our new model, we'll kind of start at the front and work our way back. So starting with the boom, one of the things you'll notice is these are bi-directional wings here. They're made of a very strong composite material. So let's say you're going by a mailbox, street sign, something like that, and you snag the boom wing as you're backing up, you're not going to bend the stainless steel and have to hammer it back into shape. It's just going to pop forward, and all you need to do then is just pop it back.
So on the old one,
They just fold
goes
up
that way
in one direction.
So
if you were to catch something in reverse on this older machine, it could definitely be a problem.
The other big change we made to the boom was we opened up the area where the nozzles are. If you're changing out your nozzles or cleaning your nozzles, sometimes it'd be difficult to get to on that boom. We've really opened up that area to make it a lot easier to change out your tips, clean your screens, things of that nature. As we continue to work our way back, you'll notice these plastic covers. This is a sealed caster fork as well as caster wheels, so there's no annual maintenance on this. You know, those have grease points there that you're supposed to do every 8 hours. This does not need to be greased at all throughout the season, and that's just not on the front tires, that's on the entire machine. The only grease point you really need to hit once a year is on your idler arm, and that's pretty much it. So when you're running this throughout the season, you just need to make sure it's got engine oil and fuel in it.
Where's the idler arm?
The idler arm is really right underneath the engine, and that, you know, takes the power from the engine to the hydro system. Another change we made was to the hopper overall. One of the bigger changes or more notable changes is we went from a hydraulic hopper motor to an electric hopper motor. And one of the big benefits of that, and you've probably noticed it yourself, when you start the day and it's a little bit cooler, you know, your knob's at one setting, and then as the machine warms up, that hydro oil warms up, you probably have to dial it back a little bit. With the electric hopper motor, whether it's 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock at night, and you have that set at a speed of 4, it's gonna maintain its RPM regardless. So a lot more consistency that you're able to put down. Plus, like you were talking about, when it comes to training employees, that's one less thing that you really have to train them on as far as being aware of your spinner speed throughout the day. You'll also notice too, we've increased the hopper size. So on a typical mid unit, that particular one has a 150-pound hopper, but our other mids have had a 220-pound hopper. This is a 250-pound hopper. You'll notice the cover has this kind of tab right here, so when you have fertilizer in it right at the beginning of a property and you go over a bump or something, it's not going to spill out. It keeps that in the hopper. When we take this off, you'll notice too that the inside of this hopper is really smooth. There's not a lot of texture to it, so that's to help, you know, feed material in. And then also you see how it's really at a steep angle back here. Again, that's all to help get the fertilizer where it needs to go. Obviously you pull your screen off, you have your hopper gate, your you know, impeller shaft right here with the cotter pin in it, and you'll see that the hopper motor itself is completely sealed off from the fertilizer, so a lot less issues with corrosion and things of that nature.
I like to see the increased size on the foam marker. That's a good improvement in my opinion.
The next thing that I'm going to show you is probably what I think is one of the coolest and one of my favorite features on this machine, and that's the flip-up hopper. So at the end of the day, let's say you have 2-3 pounds of product in here, you aren't having to cut a Gatorade bottle top off to try to scoop it out, right? You can just fold this down and you're ready to rock and roll. The other nice thing about this is it gives you access to the engine area for doing your daily maintenance of checking your air filter, but also when it comes time to change your engine oil, things of that nature. It's just super accessible compared to the old units. So let me ask you a question. I see that you have a little bit of your hose reel kind of wrapped around your fuel tank. Why is that?
That's just, you know, when I use that hose, it is, you know, I could probably count the times on one hand I've stretched that hose out. Usually when I use it, I need 8, 10, 12 feet off of it, and that's just kind of what's coiled up right there, ready to go.
And what hand do you typically use?
I'm right-handed, so
Okay.
yeah,
So one of the things you'll notice on the old units is that hose reel is on the left-hand side of the machine. When we were working on the development of this, we noticed that a lot of operators had that hose draped over to the right side of the machine. We live in a right-handed world. Only 10% of people are blessed to be left-handed, like myself. But we went ahead and we moved the hose reel over to the right side. This way guys weren't draping it over, and we know that naturally their instinct is to go to the right, go to the right. And that's just one of the things we got from customer feedback, and we went ahead and moved that over. So another improvement that we made was to the overall wire harness of the machine. Went to all sealed connectors on all of our connection points. And then the other thing we did with our wire harness is we made it a plug and play for accessories. So on the old machines, if you got an accessory like the ISO kit that Ben has here, you were having to add on to the wire harness, and it wasn't really user friendly to put that on. Now it's a true plug and play. You mount the accessory to the machine, and then you plug it into the wire harness, and you're ready to rock and roll. The other thing that we made standard on these machines is we have a 2050 charging system on the engine. So that means at low idle, you're at 20 amps, at high idle, you're at 50. That gives us the electrical capacity to power any assortment of accessories. On the old units, you'd have to add an alternator if you were running, like let's say an ISO kit and the machine itself, otherwise you draw the battery down. Not the case with any of these machines. They all have that 2050 charging system, so you're never going to overtax the electrical capabilities of the machine. It has everything it needs to run any assortment of accessories you might want to put on it.